Jeremy, who is going to be talking to us about a little bit more on Citizen Portal for City Business Innovation Challenge this year. Okay, so the event is going to be, the presentation date is going to be on Wednesday of the Fair Week. Okay, so right now we are just going to give you some time for you to think about what the quest is, and then if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask.
Thanks, Jenny. Good morning, everybody. My name is I head up the Office of Digital Government for the Northern Territory Government, which sounds pretty important. And it is. It's actually, we are in the process of making significant transformation and change to the way we deliver government services to our residents, to our citizens, to our businesses across the Northern Territory. And one of the reasons we support this business challenge, this business innovation challenge, is that we are looking for you, the next generation, to be coming through and to already have the mindset, that digital first mindset, digital delivery mindset when you come into the workforce, so that you are you're able to participate in building these services. And the services are not just government bureaucratic things. These are things that touch individuals. Actually, they do change people's lives, or they have the potential to make people's lives much more difficult if you do them badly, if you design them badly, if you implement them badly. But they have the potential to improve the quality of our lives as well. Whether that's making my business run more efficiently, whether that's getting me the medical services that I need, whether that's helping me to do something as simple as renew my driver's license. We can take the friction out of the system, make it easier, offer a digital channel as well as a face-to-face channel or other channels, then we're doing our job well, and we're actually being a productive government. So that's a little bit about why we're heading down the digital government path. My colleague Jeremy, he's the lead, he's the deputy director of the Design and Architecture Authority as well, and he'll come up in a moment to talk a little bit more about some of the design and the architecture features that we're looking for in this challenge as well. But I'll just talk briefly about the challenge itself. We thought this year that we would, rather than just focus on a coding challenge, or just a data challenge, we actually wanted to get more of a complete package. So what we're actually looking for is the conception and the design and the rollout of digital services through our citizen portal or through our business portal, with a focus on identity. As you would, I'm sure you've read the briefing, but digital identity is a hot topic across Australia, across Australian governments as well at the moment, for a number of reasons. Primary for us is if we can't identify who you are digitally, if we can't tailor services to you digitally as well. We can actually, today we can use a delivery portal to offer all the services all the digital services that we've got, but they're not joined up. So it means that every time you go into upgrade your driver's license and you upgrade your address, you then got to go into your car rego separately and update your address. You then got to go to the housing department and update your address. You then got to go to the business department and update your address, and so on. So you're doing it 6 or 7 times, which is annoying. But just as importantly, the data's not getting validated. So you might make a mistake on this address, and this address can never be matched to that address. So by having a digital identity and joining up these services, we can personalise and we can make it so that you can tell us once some of your core information. And using the right security protocols and so forth, then we can trust you and we can offer up more and more services. That's kind of why we're trying to do that. So the challenge itself, I'll take it that you've sort of gone through it already. We've got a number of potential services that we can offer. I guess I want to just concentrate a little bit on how it's going to be assessed as well. And you can see that the most important assessment criteria are around innovation and solution design. So we want to know, we want to test or we want to challenge the way that you think and the way that you use your creativity and your problem solving to come up with an innovative design. We also recognise, so from a security and privacy perspective, that's kind of not negotiable. We must always make sure that we're protecting the integrity of the system and the privacy of our citizens. But what is becoming more and more important now is the ease of use and personalisation and the intuitive interfaces that we want to see come out of this project as well. If it's not easy for our citizens to use or for our businesses to use, they won't use this product. And of course, the presentation itself, that's where you get to maybe have a little bit more fun and talk about and show us how much pizzazz and energy that you've got in how you present this as well. And as Sarah said, the Wednesday of the Code Fair week is when I think it's the Wednesday, we'll do presentations. And that's when you'll be confronted with a panel of 5 judges who will be scrutinising every aspect of the work, putting you under intense pressure. So that's something to look forward to. Before I hand over to Jeremy, I just wanted to add, this is an opportunity for you to be as creative as you like, put your heads together, collaborate, do it whatever way you think is right. It's one of the few opportunities you've got to build something that we could use in the real world. But you don't have to worry too much yet about the real world consequences. When we do this for real, we do have to be concerned about, intensely concerned about security and privacy. If we get that wrong, not only is the government in trouble, not only have we breached somebody's privacy, but the entire program can unravel, because once you lose the trust of the community, it's really hard to gain that back as a government. So we put a lot of focus on the implementation side, testing and assurance and all those sorts of activities as well. You've got an opportunity to take some of those boundaries, some of those constraints out, and just go and have a bit of fun as well. So I'll just hand over to Jeremy to speak briefly, and then we'll start this Q&A session.
Thanks, Ewan. In the past, I've had a colleague, Aaron Hay, who's joined me for the Business Innovation Challenge. He's a big supporter of this. Unfortunately, got called into an important meeting this morning, but he will be along for the judging on December the 1st. So, as Ewan said, my name's Jeremy Conway. I'm a former CDU student. I finished a Bachelor of IT and Bachelor of Business in 2001, which is 20 years ago. So a lot's changed in that time. I'm wondering where all the time went, and I'm also feeling quite old. So I guess what we're here for today is the NT government's very supportive of the CDU Code Fair, and this is the second year I've been involved in the Business Innovation Challenge. There's been a lot of good news stories over the past couple of years. 4 years ago, we had a student who developed a prototype website for the rage reporting solution. He presented it as part of the Business Innovation Challenge. We employed him as a software developer, and he was able to develop the NT rage reporting website and mobile application. That's used by the general public at the moment to let them know when roads are closed due to flooding, or when there's potholes or traffic works being carried out. He's stuck with us over the past 4 years, and he's more recently been involved in the COVID-19 software development team that's put in place the forms used for border control, managing people who've been in quarantine at Alice Springs, the Territory Check-In App, and that team's also been responsible for contact tracing when the NT's gone into lockdown. Additionally, last year through the Business Innovation Challenge and the other Code Fair events, plus the speed dating, the area I work for, which is Enterprise Project Services, employed at least 5 former students, and many other small businesses in the Northern Territory also picked up a couple of students from the Code Fair. The students who are working within EPS work across projects like Acacia, which is the new health system, CARE, the child protection system, and Serpro, which is the policing system. The former students are all working in a number of different roles, which include business and data analysts, software developers, training officers, and software testers. So on to the details of the challenge itself. Earlier this year, the Northern Territory created the Can Do Territory Online portal. which has ultimately become the one-stop shop for government services, as you mentioned. To date, the services available are only really tailored towards businesses and include applications and assistance to start a business, applying for a liquor licence, applying for relevant licences to start a food or retail business, and various business transactions with motor vehicle registry. What we don't currently have is an identity capability, which is the NT government has commenced looking into various solutions to provide this. Once we do have that digital identity capability, the aim is to develop the citizen portal where individuals and organisations in the NT can interact with a wide range of government services. The aim is to streamline the citizen portal, tailored specifically to services that are relevant to you. So the challenge itself, students will take on the role of a small IT startup company, pitching their innovative ideas to the NT government citizen portal. Students are free to present how their ideas and designs, proposed solutions, potentially a working prototype, be creative around it. Included with the challenge details, there are some considerations that you may wish to incorporate. How to establish a user account to confirm your identity. Potentially, what steps do you undertake to register an account? How do you prove who you are? What verification services may you use in confirming your identity? Design considerations around what services a user already has access to and what other services are available. Once you've registered an account and confirmed your identity, updating here, how does the application present what existing services are available and what potential services you may wish to use. Considerations on relationship authorisation management, or RAM. So when logging into a citizen portal, the aim is for your identity to use the transactions relating to you as an individual or you as a member of an organisation or business. For example, once you've established your user account and linked this to your citizen identity, you may want to apply for government grants such as the Home Improvement Scheme, which would be as an individual. But you may also need to access grants for your business that you're running, like the Roadhouse to Recovery service grants that are on offer. So system design considerations on how a single login would access both types of transactions and how this could be presented to users should be a consideration. Obviously, then there's also a lot of user experience considerations, ensuring that the system is accessible to various target audiences, and there are any standards, and if there are any standards government websites need to comply to. How it will be implemented across various browser platforms and mobile platforms. Are there any types of government services that would be a good use case for an application designed to work offline or when you're outside mobile range? If this was a requirement, how would you look at implementing that? Of course, various cybersecurity considerations. How do you protect your account? How is the website or application secured from vulnerabilities to ensure that your private and the data of your business is protected, not subject to identity theft or disclosed to third parties? So included in the details of the challenge, we've also included some examples of the NT government services and transactions that may be accessible through the system portal. Last year, Cherry created a Microsoft Teams website, or channel, sorry, that the judges and participants could log into and post questions between now and December the 1st. So I'm open to any questions if there are any. You and I will try our best to answer them. If we don't, we'll put the answers in the Teams channel for later time.
Jeremy will answer all the hard ones.
Well, that's why Aaron was supposed to be there. Is there any questions?
So this can be questions from here and also online. Okay, so if you guys online, then.
I have a question. I would don't want to ask it. Why haven't the NT government talking to the federal government is quite already a digital identity?
So the NT government is in discussions with the federal government around digital identity and with all of the other state and territory governments as well. We're actually working together to agree a TIGIT, the Trusted Digital Identity Framework, which will allow for reliable and trusted identity exchange between governments for government issued IDs and so forth. What we've, if you've ever, you probably won't have, but I've dealt with the federal government on a number of different fronts. They work at a different pace and they have a slightly different set of needs or set of requirements that they're working towards. So there's a significant identity legislation being tabled in Parliament in the next month or two, which is national legislation, and that will create the groundwork for digital identity nationally. But in the territory, we don't necessarily want to rely on the Centrelink or the Medicare or the tax office ID for all of our transactions. So we're looking at most likely creating a territory ID and then federating that all interoperating with the national system. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I'm also curious to see what the students will come up with for the citizens who do not have a permanent address.
Yeah, if you have a look at one of the resources is dta.gov.au, the Digital Transformation Agency. They do a lot of they've got a lot of material around the digital identity framework and the passage of digital identity legislation and what they've actually been doing in places like the tax office and Centrelink and so on as well. It's a good place to start.
So, it says here what you want to achieve, but there's no real input for how users, what they want, basically. Are we free to make our own research, or like, would you give us data that we can at least base on?
So definitely free to do your own research or building your own assumptions into whatever the model is that you build. We probably have some data, but it's very high-level demographic data, population of the entity. We may have some data on transactions, like the transactions that are going through the business portal at the moment. We've got some data on those.
And so those transactions don't necessarily exist at present, but they're sort of earmarked for what's going to be available through the system. So it's like including those examples of types of transactions, we would, I guess, put it into the students to work out how they would potentially group or display those transactions within an application. It's not limited to those transactions. I guess in terms of what you did last year, we sort of supplied a data set and had some very sort of stringent rules around what that application programming language was required and what databases will be used and that sort of stuff. This year we're being a lot more open and letting you choose how you want to actually address this challenge.
I think that it would take a lot of time to do deep research into customer expectations and client groups. You may not have enough time to do that, so we will be comfortable if you make some assumptions.
Yeah.
So the service in the government can be a bad service and free service, isn't it, or its own paid service?
Sorry?
The service that you mentioned to design the portal for citizens to enroll or maybe to do, is it a bad service or?
I guess that's where we were looking at students potentially doing some research about what services are currently available to validate identities and potential documents and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It could be a paid service. We're not proposing that you have to build an application that integrates with that paid service. But I guess it's considerations of those type of services that do the identity validation of various documents.
Okay.
Can I just add to that as well? So regarding payment for service, particularly around identity, we have made a decision across governments that the end user will not be charged for an identity service. So we're having lots of conversations with other governments and with major private sector like Australia Post, EFTPOS, those sorts of organisations about how we charge one another for identity services as well. So the first principle is that you shouldn't have to pay. I guess from a government perspective, from a digital government perspective, digital transactions are typically cheaper than face-to-face transactions. We want to encourage as many people to take those up because that reduces the cost of doing government, which means we can put more of our resources into good services and housing and health and education and so on. So I would expect that we would only be charging when it's unavoidable. We're going to pay regulatory fees and things like that.
We have a question about why you visit for people, like city or down, like local level, like let's say doing payment for, like very small pay, let's say parking fine, and or like doing the parking, for example, the app that we call the pay.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I think, so it's mostly NT government rather than the council and the local governments.
Oh, okay.
It's more about those.
Okay, not the
But-
state level.
Yeah, more, yeah, state and federal level. But if there's a way we can integrate those services into that, make it even easier.
Makes sense. It makes sense to have one place to go for all those services, regardless of whether they're council government or.
I had a question as well.
Yeah.
Like, if we are asked to develop an app, but we just develop a prototype, so would there be a disadvantage in marketing? Like, is there something?
Would there be what, sorry?
Like, would there be a disadvantage because we are not completing it entirely? We are just showing a prototype. So would that be a disadvantage in marketing?
Disadvantage? Well, I think you mentioned prototype in there.
No, and that's, I guess, where we're open to, you're free to basically address this challenge how you see fit. We wouldn't specifically be looking at a marketing criteria against any working prototype or anything. We'd be looking at the concept, knowing that it wouldn't be complete. You've basically given a bit over a month to do it, and you've got exams competing for your times at present. So I guess we wouldn't be assessing it as a finished product, and it wouldn't necessarily be against it, but we'd be looking for innovation within that application or prototype.
So basically this one is for verify the identity only, or is like manage the service and everything for the citizen in Darwin.
I guess part of that is how you would go about validating your identity, but then the other part is how you'd actually expose all the services that are available to the person once they enter the portal. What UX considerations would be in place, potentially how you'd approach a web version of this, a mobile version of this, what security and privacy implications there are, and how you'd look at addressing them.
Okay.
Maybe like one-stop web applications or maybe like websites or something that all the citizens come in and then request for services, and then at the same time we have to be able to identify that you are the right person that you claim you say yes. Okay, and then maybe you might want to think about non-repudiation as well too. That you, when you claim you do this, that means you can't come and say, oh, I didn't do that. Yes.
So similar to Micah.
I am Tiga. It is a little bit. We did explore using the MyGov architecture, but again, as I said before, Commonwealth government has slightly different focus and slightly different requirements in my government driven by different legislation. So we'll definitely be looking at we don't even know, maybe you guys think about what you might want to call it. We don't know what to call it yet. We haven't decided what to call it. Most other states in Australia have services as well, Service Victoria, Service Queensland, those sorts of things. So we can't be the same, right? We can't be Service NT, we've got to be something different. So maybe that can be part of the creative part of the things to decide what it is. But the idea, as Jeremy said, it's a single front door, so you can come to one place and access all the services as a citizen or as a business entity.
Do we have any questions online? Sorry. Do we have any questions online? Yeah.
ready to how to design get the user or
Sorry, what we
how
want
to get the user.
to
Get the
guide
user.
the user. Part of the assessment that we're looking for is we make the interface as intuitive as possible. If you think about, back in Jeremy in my day, like a long time ago, whenever you got an application, somebody had to write the user manual. Okay, so you had to write user instructions about how to navigate through and how to do this and how to do that. Now, with just how a user go out to Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, it's so intuitive, or an Apple phone, you just kind of pick it up, figure it out, and get your friend to show you. So there's a lot to be built in for ease of use and intuitive basic design. So you can use CX principles around how you design your system and service as well.
Well, we have 6 attendees online, but there's no questions. So
Okay,
That's all right. Use your lecturers. You call lecturers here?
Yes.
Faculty, whatever. Use these guys. They know how it works. They can connect you to a lot of the other resources that we have available. There's a lot of online material around how to design these things, the security considerations, identity frameworks that are used here and around the globe as well, and privacy frameworks and so forth. There's a lot of material that's available. Some of it's really dull government style stuff, and some of it's really fancy but expensive, privacy sort of marketing stuff as well. But there's a lot of resources there. We're available, as Jeremy said, to answer any other questions you think about. Post them online, and we'll get back to you on those before the code fair. I just want to wish you all really good luck. And not just for the code fair, but for studies generally. It's great to be able to study here and to be able to live in Darwin and all the country as well.
Thanks very, very much for everyone coming along today. I'm looking forward to seeing your presentations on the 1st of December.
Yes.
Thank you.
Turn on.
Well, we would like to thank you, Yuan and Jeremy, for and also on the NTG support for CDU and Core Fair. Yes,